Wow, the quality is really shit. I always just film videos at night with the most interesting lighting. It's really pretty here though. I kind of just feel like a retired grandma here, enjoying the last of her days in a rose garden. That sounded really depressing, but I find that right now I just feel really calm. So I want to film this video, and I don't even know what I want to talk about specifically. I'm gonna just freestyle this shit. A lot of times, like, my mind gets super muddled by a lot of shit, but there's something about this weather that's just very calming. And I used to hate it when Vancouver got super like cloudy, and then it would just look super depressing to me. I don't know, maybe I want this video just to be a video that gives hope to people who are going through hard times, because this weather is really reminding me of a time where I was severely depressed in grade 12. I remember during November, like, that was a month, actually October to November, that was a month where every single day after school I would just go home and lie on my floor. I didn't have energy for anything really. I would just go to school, do the bare minimum at school, and then just go home and lie on my carpet. And every single day I told myself I wasn't going to fall asleep on my carpet, because that just happened every single day, and I just felt horrible afterwards, and that just ruined also my sleep schedule and just made me more tired. But I just did not have the energy. And like, I remember going home every single day, I would be like, let me resist, but I would just always end up lying on my carpet with a pillow. Like, I would take a pillow from my bed, put it under my head, and I would lie sideways, and then I would like put my computer sideways as well and just watch YouTube videos and then fall asleep to those YouTube videos. It was during this period too where like the weather became really foggy and cloudy and rainy, and I used to hate that because it just made me feel even more tired. And I remember one day I was so tired of feeling stuck, and I think like this is a feeling that a lot of people won't understand unless you've been depressed. It's just this feeling of being super stuck, and there's not really any way to describe it, but like your head is just stuck in this really mucky headspace, and you don't know what to do, and you don't think you can get out of it. And maybe the best thing you can do is just take a nap or try to distract yourself, but it's just this really like stuck headspace mentally. I was in that headspace and I wanted to get out of it, and a lot of times in order to get out of that space I thought I had to do something like really random. I've met a lot of people in my life where they kind of just go and do random things, and to somebody who hasn't felt certain emotions or like emotions for a long time or that strongly, it might seem kind of weird, you know, when you talk to someone and they're like, oh yeah, like I randomly went to Holland one time, and it just kind of seems like, oh, they're just a crazy fun spontaneous person, which could be true sometimes. But I'm just saying, like, for me, my type of people, like, I understand that sometimes it's like you feel these sorts of emotions, you get to a certain point where it's like, I don't give a shit anymore. I don't know how really to articulate this properly, but sometimes it feels like you just don't care. Like, you could just walk on and on and on forever, and like, maybe you just want to do something to feel something, right? Because you get to a point where it's just like you don't care anymore, and that's how you develop a certain mentality to do more spontaneous things, because you don't have that much attachment to your current life that sucks. Yeah, that day, like, the weather sucked as usual, like in fall Vancouver weather, and I just like took a bus and I went to this park, and I just went there and I walked around like in a circle, and then the weather was so bad, and I just felt so bad, and it was just raining, and I still felt stuck, and I didn't know what to do about my life, and it was just like this horrible feeling. And it's so strange to me now that it's the exact same weather, but I feel so calm and I feel so normal. Like, I don't know, not normal, but I just feel like I'm in such a calm and satisfied headspace. I don't think a lot of things in my life are exactly perfect right now. I mean, I'm doing pretty bad in one of my classes even, and I feel like I'm not trying hard enough in certain aspects of my life, but it's not like horrendous, you know, like it's not like, it doesn't feel like I'm stuck anymore. If anything, it just feels like, okay, I have more motivation to do better. It's just weird to me because I used to not have a positive mentality at all for life. What I want to say is, like, what's more toxic than toxic positivity is actually negativity, because I think there's a difference, right? There's a difference between like feeling sad and not letting yourself feel sad, or like just thinking that the world is shit, because one is an emotion and the other is a mindset. And you can always, I'm not saying like you should try to suppress or change your emotions, but you can always try to change your mindset about life. And I don't think a negative mindset is really benefiting anyone. And I'm also not saying to be delusional, because I think a lot of these days, a lot of people are like, just be delusional. I think we still have to be practical to a certain extent, right? Like, just create the opportunities for yourself and work hard towards something. Guaranteed that you're in a developed country with enough resources, your dreams will likely come true. And I also think it's important to believe in yourself, right? But I think there's a fine line between that and just actually just being so delusional that you have a false sense of reality. And a lot of times, like when people say like being delusional, whatever, it's just people being afraid to come to terms with what reality actually is. And I think it's so freeing almost just to be honest with yourself and just to see things for how they are, and to realize that you have the power to change them, but it doesn't mean that things aren't the way they are. Okay, wow, this doesn't make sense, but what I'm saying is like if you see something that's like shit, you realize it's shit, but you recognize that you can take a shovel and get rid of that shit. Whereas being delusional is like you see something that's shit, but then you think that that's a cake, you know, and then it's like, okay, I don't have to do anything about it anymore. Today just feels weird because even though my life is not perfect, I see such a great change in my mindset. It's only been 2 years really since the last time I was very depressed for an extended period of time. And it's just crazy to me like how things can actually truly change. I'm just saying this because I want to give hope to the people who think that things can't change, because for the longest time I saw my future as like such a dark, like it's just gray. Honestly, I thought that my future was gray. There was like just extended periods of time, like years really, where I would want to just go to bed forever. Like I would want to go to sleep forever, and I would just write that in my diary. Like in my 10th grade diary, every single other, like no, actually just every single entry was, I'm so tired, I don't want to do this anymore, I just want to go to sleep and never wake up, no one cares about me, I don't want to do this. So many entries of that. And I just want to share like maybe a little bit about how I changed my mindset. But I'm just gonna say, like, I don't think just watching this video is really going to like help you change your whole life. I think this video is more so just to give you a little bit of hope that you can do it, because I was in a place before where I didn't think I could do it at all. Like there's I've like hit rock bottom so many times. It's so familiar to me at this point. Yeah, like I just understand that feeling of not thinking that your life is gonna get anywhere. Just that terrible like feeling of being stuck. And I think a huge part of how I got unstuck actually is being practical. And I know it sounds a little bit harsh, but I do believe that, at least for me, I'm an overthinker. So if you're also an overthinker, it really helps to be very practical about life. It's a skill to know when to be practical and when to not be practical. Because I think mental strength comes from 2 areas. One is being able to be vulnerable when the time's right, being able to open up to others. And another part of mental strength is being able to do things despite your emotions, right? You can't have one or the two. So you can't be somebody who just like discards all their emotions and just grinds and does like everything despite like feeling sad, whatever. And they're like, I don't care about my feelings. And then when it really matters and when they actually need to open up to others, they can't do it because it's too vulnerable. Like you're only mentally strong in one area. You're not really actually mentally strong. Or the other is like, oh, being so in touch with your emotions, but then you can't get anything done. It's important to have both, and it's important to know when to be practical and when to be vulnerable. And I think that's like a really valuable thing that I've learned just from being in either of the 2 extremes. Because before I was definitely way to like let my emotions control everything. And you know, because I just like gave myself a free pass because I was depressed, and I was like, okay, well, I can't do anything anyways because I'm depressed. And that didn't make anything better, to be honest. And a lot of times like I had to realize that, okay, like you're depressed, okay, and you know, like it sounds super harsh, but for me that's what I needed to hear. It's just, well, then are you just gonna rot in bed forever? You know what I'm saying? Like one of these days you have to pick yourself up, right? You just have to find the strength to do it yourself. And I know it sounds so harsh, and a lot of people are like, when you're depressed, it's so hard to get anything done. But at the end of the day, I realized that you can do things despite your emotions. And I realized that through like, I don't know, running my marathon, being more practical with stuff, and knowing that like I can do things despite how I feel. And that I found a lot of strength through that. And I also found a lot of humility. And I also realized that like the world didn't really owe you anything just because you were depressed. You know, nothing's gonna happen for you because you feel a certain way. Things will only happen if you do certain things, right? Like if you don't ever take action and you're only thinking, how is that ever, like how are your thoughts ever gonna reflect in the real world? Your thoughts only really matter if you apply them to your life, like if you do an action. Because sure, you can be thinking about like, oh, I'm gonna donate this to charity, or like I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, but it's all in your head. It's all in your head. None of it is materialized. Then what is the point even? But I think also I strayed too far on that end, where I was like, I have to be practical, I can't feel anything, blah blah blah, and I have to be independent and whatever. And then I was really weak in the other side, where I couldn't open up to others, and I didn't know how to be vulnerable or connect with others. And I think there's a time and place for both, and I think it's so important to know when to do both and how to do them properly. But yeah, I don't know, this is just kind of a random video. I didn't really like script this or anything. I'm just sitting in a random garden. This video is honestly just for people who are feeling stuck right now, for people who feel like shit. It's just a reminder that a lot of things are possible, and even if you've been struck down like 100 times, like 100,000 times, because you know, like sometimes I would watch like these motivational videos, I get some hope, but then it's like, oh fuck, I fell back into the hole again. Oh my gosh, nothing works, I'm just hopeless, there's nothing that's ever going to save me. And you just like fall back and again and again and again, and you think there's no meaning at all to life anymore. I know that sometimes like these videos might not even help at all, and I know that, you know, like one video is not going to like fix your whole life. But I just kind of want to put it out there that even when you think things are so meaningless, and even when you have no hope at all, just know that even this much hope can go such a long way. Because I have been at the rock bottom where like I just couldn't do it anymore, and I just couldn't get out. And I've been there so many times, but there has been just a select few times where I've been at that place, and it kind of felt like that scene in like the cartoon Hercules, where like the three witches try to cut his hair, but then the hair turns into gold. It's like that tiny thread of hope that you just can't sever. That was enough to bring me to where I am today. Like that was enough. That's all you need sometimes. And I just wanted this to be a really more hopeful video for anyone who's struggling a lot right now, and just to know that a tiny bit of hope can go a long way. And I don't think that anyone can lose hope completely. I feel like no matter what happens, there will always be like this small, like this tiny bit that you can hold on to, that you can find within yourself, and that change is possible, and it's possible to be unstuck. And you know, I think it's even just illogical to think that life is going to stay the same forever. And I know everyone says like, oh, change is inevitable, you never know what's going to happen next, and blah blah blah, and sometimes it doesn't really like resound with you completely, because sometimes when you're depressed, it just feels like your whole life is going to be like that. And sometimes you need to take action to shift your perspective and bring you to a better mental headspace to realize the possibilities. That's basically all I had to say for this video. I don't even know if I'm going to post this, but if I do, I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I hope it was somewhat helpful or motivating in any way. See you guys.